Hi there, it is 3 p.m. on deadline day, less than 4 hours to go on one of the busiest final days of a window we have ever seen. So here are the top stories so far. Alexander Isak has left Liverpool training ground to continue his medical ahead of a British record move to Anfield. While at Newcastle, exclusive pictures of Wissa arriving for his medical ahead of completing a deal worth £55 million. Manchester United have agreed an £18.2 million deal plus add-ons with Royal Antwerp for 23-year-old goalkeeper Senna Lamens. Randall Colomouani is in London for his Tottenham medical ahead of joining on loan from Paris Saint-Germain. Harvey Elliott has been given permission to undergo a medical with Aston Villa. He is on his way to Birmingham. Manchester City are closing in on the signing of Italy goalkeeper Gianluigi Donnarumma from Paris Saint-Germain. And Nicholas Jackson's move to Bayern Munich is back on. Bayern Munich are prepared to include an obligation to buy in the loan agreement.
Yeah, what a deadline day it's been so far. So much more to update you on as well. Forest, Fulham and Palace all have deals bubbling away under the surface, which will bring you. We've also got guests. Alan Pardew and Christian Purslow are alongside us to react to all that big news. We'll be chatting to them soon.
Yeah.
We've got loads going on. Let's get to breaking news immediately. This involves Wolves. Kirsty Edwards is there for us with news of a new signing. Kirsty, go for it.
Yeah, well, it's all about the strikers today because, first of all, of course, Jørgen Strand Larsen, as the club always said he would, is staying. And there's a new striker in town as well. Tolo Roccadore has signed in a 4-year deal with an extra 12-month option as well. On top of that, from Genk, he's 24 years old, a 6'6" Nigerian international, played in Latvia before the Bundesliga, before getting his move to Genk in 2023, had his best season yet last time around, getting 23 goals in all competitions, 21 in the league, and that got him the Golden Boot in the Belgian Pro League. And he will now play his football here at Molineux and hopes to add to that goal tally here as well. It does have a knock-on effect because it means that Wolves have too many non-homegrown players in their squad. That could mean Sasha Kalajdzic could be on his way out on a loan deal today. We'll keep an eye on that. And of course, Vitor Pereira also wanted to add a midfielder if he could to his squad. That may not happen today. If it doesn't, they will still look at free agents if they can, and they have shown some interest in former Burnley midfielder Josh Brownhill. But today, as I say, it's all about the strikers. Tolo Roccadore, the new man in town here at Wolves, and let's see if he can get them some points on the board once this international break is over.
Thank you, Kirsty. Now let's get to the latest on Alexander Isak's move from Newcastle to Liverpool. The two clubs reached an agreement worth £125 million in the early hours of deadline day. So Isak is now in Liverpool to complete his medical before signing a 6-year contract. These are some shots from Liverpool's training ground from earlier today. Isak was inside the vehicle, leaving the training ground. He was leaving so that he could continue his medical off-site. We will, of course, keep you up to date with any further developments. Elsewhere, Wissa has agreed a deal to join Newcastle. Keith Downey's been across this transfer saga for weeks and joins us now. Keith, when are we expecting everything to be tied up with this one? We've lost Keith's mic. OK.
Well,
Keith, can you start
delay.
again? I know you've been really busy. It's been a long saga. We need you to start from the beginning.
I don't know how much of that you heard there, but yeah, I'll start again. It has been a saga, an absolute saga this summer. Of course, all surrounding the Alexander Isak situation, but of course that then is linked to the Johan Wissa situation. There was always a feeling and I think a hope from Newcastle's point of view that they would get the deal done for Johan Wissa. I don't think they quite thought they would have to spend as much as they're having to. Remember, the first bid for Johan Wissa was £25 million around about 6 weeks ago. That then went up to 35 plus 5, a £40 million package, and they're now paying Brentford £50 million up front with a potential £5 million in add-ons. So a £55 million package for a player who turns 29 this week, but obviously needs must. They've lost Isak to Liverpool, and Newcastle see Wissa as a player who can hit the ground running. 19 goals last season in the Premier League. He knows his way about, and they think he can get right and straight into the team straight away. So in terms of the deal, we know that he travelled up to the northeast. He drove up early this morning to make sure he was in situ once a deal was struck with Brentford, and he's having his medical right now. We had some exclusive pictures just around about an hour and a half ago of him arriving at a private hospital in the centre of Newcastle to undergo that medical, and of course Newcastle will try and push this one through before the deadline later on tonight. So look, they'll be happy they've got a striker in, and when you join him up with Nick Voltemade, who arrived on Friday, that's two players that in total cost £125 million, which of course is the exact fee that they've sold Alexander Isak to Liverpool for. So Newcastle getting in two players for the price of one, and as you rightly say, the Isak saga all but over, and the Wissa saga all but over, so we can all get on with our lives again.
Keith, thank you very much. Right, I've got some more breaking news to bring you. And Brighton attacking midfielder Facundo Buonanotte has joined Chelsea on a season-long loan. There is no option or obligation to buy. There was, of course, strong interest from other Premier League clubs, including Leeds. The Argentina international prefers to play in the number 10 position, has become the latest Brighton player to move to Chelsea. And we reported on Friday that Chelsea were close to completing that deal, where he has now joined Chelsea on a season-long loan.
Yeah, thanks, Bella. Let's get the thoughts now of Alan Pardew, who joins us alongside Christian Purslow. Alan, Newcastle, obviously one of your former clubs. My goodness me, what have you made of this absolute saga with Isak?
Well, I'm kind of astonished a little bit because I think Liverpool's kind of approach to this transfer window has been tough on other clubs. They're still obviously trying to get Guehi over the line as well, I understand. This transfer, I was guessing, might have been going away, but in the background, I think all along it's been done. And in Isak's mind, in his team's mind, this deal was done. I think in Eddie Howe's mind, it was done. Hence, Wissa was getting information that deal was going to happen, hence their standoff. So when you add it all up, it all looked like it was done some time ago.
So why is it happening now, in the early hours of the morning on deadline day? Well,
I'm assuming that, there's been some kind of dialogue to give us time to get strikers in. Maybe the German coming, was the trigger for some more talks. I just feel so sorry for Newcastle fans, really.
Really?
I do, because, the two players they brought in are not at the level of Isak. They're just not. So, in terms of what they've lost, is a big blow.
But there's nothing you can do, is there? When a player wants to leave, you tell me, from your point of view, from, all the clubs you've managed at, if a player is hell-bent on leaving, publicly declares they want to leave, doesn't want to play for the club, trains away from the first team, can you change their mind?
Well, you can't change their mind, but the reset takes a while. It happened with me at Newcastle. Johan Cabaye wanted to leave to go to Arsenal, and we didn't let it happen in that particular window. And it was like, I would say it took him about 2 or 3 weeks to get his mind back. The fans knew that he had kind of a protest going on. They bought back into him. So we were lucky in that respect.
So you were able to reintegrate him?
Yeah, we was. Whether you could have done that with the level that Isak went to, in terms of the upset that it caused Newcastle fans, I don't know. But the bottom line is, it weakens Newcastle's approach this year, and the whole window has been very, very difficult for Eddie Howe. I feel for him.
Do you?
Yeah, of course I do. Of course, there's nothing worse for a manager when you've got a disruption like that. All the other players, Christian, you tell that sometimes the squad is a strange group. Some of them will be like, well, you know, if the player wants to go, you know, you shouldn't be standing in his way. So they won't all be against Isak, but at the same token, they're all thinking about their bonuses, the Champions League money, the success that might be coming their way going out the door. So it's like a split sometimes in the dressing room, which isn't helpful.
Christian, how difficult would this be for Eddie Howe, considering that there's no CEO in place and there's no sporting director in place? In modern day football, at the top level clubs, all of those clubs will have those people in place to help with situations like Alexander Isak. I wonder if Eddie Howe has ever dealt with a situation of this magnitude with this high profile a player at this big of a club.
Well, I think Eddie would admit he hasn't. You know, this is a British record transfer. So nobody has. This is an enormous deal, and it has been unusual. The level of agitation from Isak to make this move happen has been on the extreme end. We've both seen players who want to leave, and sometimes, as Alan says, the manager in particular should be the ultimate gauge of that decision, and he'll balance those factors in the dressing room. May say to me, look, on balance, I think we should get him out. And occasionally they'll say, I think we should dig in, and I think we can reset. In this case, it does seem as though Eddie had no one around to shoulder that. And by the way, I think it's a very good question. And my key observation on that would be, this is always best dealt with between windows early. If you're having a player do this in the middle of a transfer window, post-season end, it's already too late. It's gone too far. And I suspect that some of the lack of stability behind the scenes at Newcastle in those key positions you refer to may have contributed to this situation just developing and not being gripped and controlled tightly right at the outset. I said earlier to you, it was no surprise to anyone in football anywhere that there would be interest in Isak. He's been that superb in the last 2 years in the Premier League. And when you employ a footballer who's by far the best player in the league, not at the big six, you know you're going to get bids. So they could have been ahead of it, and I suspect there was somewhat of a vacuum that has been exploited by the player, and yes, by Liverpool, who've just made it clear to the boy, we want you, we're here, when it's all ready, we'll come through. And that's what's happened today.
Perhaps unnecessary drama for Newcastle, but we've enjoyed it here, haven't we, on Sky Sports News on this deadline day. Let's break away from Christian and Alan for just a moment. We've got breaking news, Bella.
Yes, so I brought you that breaking news a moment ago from Chelsea that Facundo Buonanotte has joined on a season-long loan. Well, Kaveh Solokol, our chief correspondent, would go to Stamford Bridge now because I'm hearing that you've also got some more breaking news for us.
Yes, Tyreek George is on his way to Fulham from Chelsea. He's a 19-year-old winger who's been at Chelsea since he was 8 years old. I think he's been here for around 11 years, but he's moving to Fulham on a permanent deal subject to a medical. Interestingly, he came on as a substitute on Saturday here. He replaced Liam Delap when Liam Delap picked up that hamstring injury, but he himself was substituted in the second half. Fulham looking to sign two wingers. They're getting Kevin from Shakhtar Donetsk. They were linked with a move for Raheem Sterling. Instead, they've gone for Tyreek George, who will be moving to Fulham subject to a medical. Just some more information to bring you on that loan move from Facundo Buonanotte. Now, the reasoning behind that, of course, is that Chelsea are looking for an attacking midfielder, somebody who can play in the number 10 position. They missed out on Xavi Simons. They decided not to put a bid in for him. He ended up going to Spurs. They needed to find another number 10, especially because Cole Palmer is injured at the moment. And it's quite strange for them to agree to take a player from Brighton just on a straight loan. There's no option, there is no obligation. He was on loan at Leicester last season. So Brighton now sending their players to Chelsea for them to get more game time. I think he's a very, very promising player. This is going to be a big, big opportunity for him. But whatever happens, even if he plays really, really well for Chelsea this season, he's going to remain a Brighton player.
OK, Kaveh, thank you. Loads going on. We've still got 3 hours, 45 minutes left. OK, stay with us here on Deadline Day. We're going to get some updates from Manchester United and Aston Villa next. Hi there, welcome back. Plenty of breaking news today, including some news about Chelsea's Nicholas Jackson. So his move to Bayern Munich was on, then off. Well, now it seems it is back on. Got some quotes for you from Jackson's agent, Ali Barat. This is what he told us. We are working and doing everything we can to get Nico the move he deserves. We are still here in Munich and won't leave until we have exhausted every possibility. We understand Chelsea's situation and hope they can find a resolution to enable Nico to make the move. He says everyone at Bayern has been so welcoming and understanding, and we thank them for their continued efforts and desire to sign Nico. Right, well, we'll bring you any updates on that, of course. But now, let's get to Aston Villa. There could be as many as 3 new arrivals there. Rob Jones is there for us with all the details. Rob, what have you got?
Afternoon, Bella. Yeah, I'll keep this brief because I know you got plenty on, but as you said, 3 potential. Well, 1 confirmed new face, which is Victor Lindelof on a free transfer, which was signed, sealed and delivered a little bit earlier on. The interesting one of the 2 attackers, given that Villa have lost 4 of those since the end of last season. Rashford and Asensio returning from their loans, Leon Bailey heading out on loan and Jacob Ramsey joining Newcastle. So Harvey Elliott on his way down for a medical, a loan with an obligation to buy at £35 million from Liverpool after contributing for the champions last season, but not
Rob,
having as much game time as he'd have liked.
We're going to have to interrupt you there. Rob, I apologise. We will come back to you shortly. We've got to interrupt you with breaking news. Mark McAdam has been trumped up the pecking order because what's going on?
Huge breaking news. We spoke about this being the deadline day of all deadline days for Liverpool. They've had the most fabulous window. Before today, over £300 million had been spent by the football club. They got Alexander Isak in a deal worth 125. It's got even better for Liverpool fans because guess what? You've got a new centre-back. Deal agreed with Crystal Palace for the defender, Marc Guehi, the Crystal Palace captain. It's worth £35 million. He's now been given permission to undergo his medical for Liverpool, which is going to happen in London. But this, Bella, is a huge deal for Arne Slot, an incredible side that have started the season fantastically well. Suddenly, it's got even better. The targets were a striker and a centre-back. Arne Slot has got his wishes. 2 brand new players and the Palace captain, no less. Remarkable stuff.
Incredible. Thank you, Mark. Jess?
Wow, yeah, I really want to get the thoughts of Alan and Christian on this one. Christian, us journalists, we're not known for our hyperbole, not at all. But if Liverpool get this deal underlined, it's confirmed. They've brought in Wirtz, they've brought in Ekitike, they've brought in Isak. They've now got a defender in Guehi as well. Is that the title race over?
Well, I'm not in the predictions business, but it's an incredible statement of seriousness and intent. They are making hay while the sun is shining on them. They're champions. They've got a set of financial regulations that support their business fantastically well. And while their rivals are rebuilding or struggling or limited by the rules, they are filling their boots. And those of us who watched the game last night, I mean, what a signing Guehi is. Even I was highly amused when Mateta said you don't even do that in training when he strummed that one in from 30 yards. But it's a brilliant window for Liverpool and a frightening one for their rivals.
Yeah, Alan, he's a consistent performer. He's got a right foot on him as well, as we saw last night. What do you make of this? Is that a good deal?
Well, of course, it's a good deal. There's a few reasons for that. One, he's a particularly great leader. He's been the heartbeat of that Palace team. It's built around him. You can't get down the side of him. It's almost impossible to take him on for pace. He's quick. He's composed in possession. He's everything you want in a modern centre-back. And Liverpool, again, have done this move very, very late. And I'm sure, I know for a fact, Crystal Palace are angry about it. They
Why
assumed,
so?
Well, they assumed that this deal was a deal that wasn't, going to be made. That the interest wasn't as concrete as it was meant to have. Could it have happened a week ago? No, they didn't want to, So they've hung on for this last moment, leaves Crystal Palace in a difficult position. And it certainly leaves the owner and the manager in a difficult position because the manager last night, Oliver, was very, that he needs to stay. So, it puts a lot of pressure on that relationship and on the relationship with Crystal Palace fans. So I think fans, Crystal Palace, fans of Newcastle, could be rightly upset with Liverpool's actions in this window. I really do.
They run the risk, though, Palace and Steve Parish, the chairman, of losing Marc Guehi for free next summer.
Yeah, I mean, it's we talked earlier. There is the business and the football aspects, and the job of someone like Steve. Steve's sitting in the middle of that. Steve's got investors in that football club who will be saying 40 million in 12 months is zero. And he's got a manager who's perhaps been more explicit than any manager I can remember in recent times in basically saying, I want you to keep this player.
Yeah.
If we have to run down the contract, we run down the contract. Maybe between now and January, we have another crack at re-signing the player, maybe putting a clause in. But the manager was very explicit, and Steve's right in the middle of that. It's finely balanced. £40 million will not seem a lot of money if it turns Palace from competing for Europe to being mid-table or 5 places in the Premier League. So I think it's very finely balanced, and Liverpool are the winners, and I don't think many Palace fans will feel like they're the winners today.
Yeah, and also you've got to remember that the player must have had a view, and his view must have been to go, which he's probably going to express when he arrives at Liverpool. So that, probably made up the mind for Steve Parish that was the only deal really left for him to do.
Steve was explicit, wasn't he, a few weeks ago, that we cannot run the risk of 40 becoming zero. Marc must have said, I will not extend my contract between now and Christmas,
of course,
meaning there'll be no value in January, and it boiled down to that hard and fast financial situation. But I think, Alan, I'm sure you agree with me, we should contrast Guehi's behaviour to Alex Isak's behaviour, because right up to the last minute last night, he is totally committed to helping.
And that
Palace are now in.
And that has been noted. Christian, I know you're about to get into the gist of it, but we are going to come back. We're going to take a short break. Marc Guehi has been given permission to have his medical with Liverpool. £35 million deal. Stay with us here on Deadline Day. Is this the best deadline day that we've ever had here on Sky Sports News? Quite possibly. The major breaking news in the last 15 minutes. Liverpool have agreed a deal with Crystal Palace for the defender Marc Guehi. Mark McAdam has been breaking stories left, right and centre this whole transfer window. He's with me now alongside Alan and Christian. Mark, how has this gone down? We thought it was off.
Yeah, it's been one of those stories that we've been talking about for the last 3 or 4 weeks or so, and every single day there's a different position from either football club. It looks like he's staying, and then it looks like he's going to head to Liverpool. The conversations continued in the background, and of course Marc Guehi has been, the absolute perfect professional over the course of this last week or so. While there's been so much speculation about his future, he's continued as captain of Crystal Palace and continued to put in top-class performances in crucial games for them. But now, finally, there is an agreement in place between Crystal Palace and Liverpool, which we understand to be £35 million.
Okay.
He's been given permission to go through the formalities of the medical, which is going to happen in London, and finalise the deal.
Just talk us through that medical. 3.5 hours long or something, is that right?
Well,
is that our understanding?
Yeah, the fact that he played 90 minutes plus last night would suggest to that Liverpool medical team...
He said after the match, I'm absolutely exhausted. They've had so many matches this month, haven't they?
Any concerns about his body, I don't think there is going to be, because he's already played so many games over the course of the last few weeks, and 90 plus minutes as well. So he'll go through the formalities of the medical. They'll get all the agreements sorted between the clubs, the lawyers. The personal terms would have already been agreed before they got to this point between his representatives and Liverpool. And really now it's just a case of signing the paperwork and bringing the formalities together. Of course, Crystal Palace would only sanction a possible deal when they had got what they believed to be top-class replacements sorted up, lined up and ready to go. The fact that the two clubs have now agreed the deal would suggest Crystal Palace are in a comfortable position to say, OK, we're happy to let our captain go. He had 1 year left on his contract, and that was clearly a massive factor. This time last year, Newcastle were trying to buy him for around £65 million. He's now going to Liverpool for 35.
And I have to stop you there, Mark, because we've got more breaking news on this transfer deadline day. Let's go to our chief correspondent, Kaveh Solikal, who's at Chelsea. What have you got, Kaveh?
Yes, Nicholas Jackson is going to become a Bayern Munich player. The deal has now been agreed between Chelsea and Bayern Munich, and very importantly, Chelsea get exactly what they want, which is an obligation for Bayern Munich for them to sign Nicholas Jackson next summer when his loan runs out. Now, I will tell you that the loan fee has gone up from €15 million to €16.5 million, and the obligation is €65 million.
Kaveh, thank you for the latest. You sounded like a robot, but we got the details there, I think. Basically, in essence, we're saying this deal between Bayern Munich and Nicholas Jackson is very much on. He will be a Bayern Munich player. He went out to Germany, didn't he, to have his medical. Chelsea called him back after that injury to Liam Delap. But the deal is now very much on and on its way to being completed. Mark, what a transfer deadline day this is. This is absolutely bonkers.
This is extraordinary. It'll probably go down as one of the greatest deadline days we've ever seen.
Honestly.
This is my 32nd at Sky Sports News now, so I've seen a
and
few
you're
over the years.
You're only 21, that's amazing.
33.
So it's quite remarkable. But what we've seen is big players moving. The money has been bigger than ever before. Average players now seem to be going for between 50 and 70 million. Blockbuster players are over £100 million.
Silly money.
And clubs are just getting the business done because there is so much at stake. We know that the new format of the Champions League can be worth around 80 million as a minimum for those sides that are in the Champions League. Huge money involved there. Commercial packages. You've seen Liverpool win the Premier League, and the bonuses and add-ons for all of their commercial deals because they're Premier League champions go up as well. So it enables them to spend. And when you're well run, when you're clever, when you're astute, when you generate a lot of money like Chelsea have done, like Liverpool have done with player sales, you can recycle it in the right way, and that's what some of the best clubs are doing.
But we are having a problem, and this window is reflecting it, and that is that the top 5-6 clubs with the PSR rules are getting further and further away. Aston Villa, who are trying to get into that group, are having massive issues. Crystal Palace have found out by winning the FA Cup means that your best players are going to get stolen off you, taken off you. Newcastle are trying to break into that group.
Completely
so
true.
it's really, really
100% true.
becoming a massive problem that the Premier League at some point and the ownerships are going to have to look at.
From an executive point of view, Christian, how do the clubs break in then?
Well, I think you need to see some alleviation in the rules. I think the rules, I think, Mark, you make such a good point. The step up in income now from the main European competition means the reward for qualifying is now probably 2 or 3 times what it was 10 years ago. And the same clubs doing so, recycling that into their wage bill, is giving an inbuilt advantage. So I think there's going to be more and more pressure to liberalise those financial rules, because it's become clearer and clearer to mainstream football fans who may be fans of Big Six clubs, still thinking there's something wrong when teams like Newcastle and Villa are being forced to sell players. And one other point on rules. All of us could agree today, why is it we have to have rules that encourage us to sell homegrown talent?
Correct, yeah.
Let's just make academy...
That's the biggest issue.
Let's make academy players non-deductible for FFP. If you're carrying a homegrown player, his salary isn't deducted for FFP. It would change the behaviour overnight. Clubs would keep those players. And
it would also stop this trading of young players between the Big Six as well.
I don't think any football fan likes it.
Crazy.
Just an update, another transfer update for you guys, because we've been speaking about Crystal Palace and the fact that Oliver Glasner did not want to let Guehi go at this late point. Well, news of a possible incoming. Crystal Palace, we're hearing, are looking to finalise a loan move for Manor Solomon to join from Tottenham. Now, Solomon has turned down a number of opportunities already this summer, but one source has told Sky Sports News that they are very confident that deal will be confirmed. If it is confirmed, they've got less than 4 hours to get it over the line. So Crystal Palace perhaps losing one of their key players, their captain, but possibly bringing in winger Manor Solomon from Tottenham. We'll give you more on that as we have it, because it's been a breathless deadline day so far. But it's not just a big day here in football on Sky Sports News. Jamie Weir will tell you of a big day in golf as well.
Thank you very much, Jess. A momentary respite from a very busy deadline day. It's also been deadline day for this man alongside me here, European Ryder Cup captain Luke Donald, because he has named his 6 picks to complete the European side, heading to New York later this month. Thank you for joining us, Luke.
Thank you.
Let's have a look at those 6 men, and 6 very familiar faces, because they were all part of that team 2 years ago in Rome. John Ram, Shane Lowry, Sepp Straka, Victor Hovland, Matt Fitzpatrick and Ludwig Åberg. How nice to be able to call upon guys that you already know, or that you've already captained to victory.
Yeah, no idea how their football games are, but I know they're tremendous golfers, some of the best in the world. Yeah, it's great to have so much continuity, obviously, from Rome. These guys stepped up. They're the best players in the world, and really happy to have them back on our team for what's going to be an amazing Ryder Cup at Bethpage.
We can have a look at the team photo from Rome a couple of years ago, I think, just now. And the good news is you don't even need to bother with a new team photo this time, because it's exactly the same photo.
Yeah, the clothes might look a little different this time,
exactly.
But yeah, we'll add a little bit more hair to Nikolai.
That's right.
It's pretty similar, but yeah, this doesn't happen very often. It really doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But you know, these were 11 of the top 12 were on the Ryder Cup points list, so they've certainly earned their spot on this team. And as I said, really excited to get going again and be their captain.
As you said, I think that the fewest changes from one Ryder Cup team to the next on either side has been 3 in history. There's obviously only 1 change this time, 1 twin for another. It's testament really to how these guys have kept their games at such a consistent level for the last 2 years since Rome.
It is. You know, I think hopefully for a lot of these guys that was very inspirational. We create some amazing memories that week, and you know, once you play in a Ryder Cup, you never want to miss another. Obviously, It doesn't always happen that way, that you'd have such continuity. But yeah, I think we'll definitely be talking about some of those shared memories that we had in Rome, and trying to feed off those.
Just to talk about a couple of the guys who you've picked today, I want to start with Shane Lowry. Started the season so well. It seemed he was contending every week. Form has sort of tailed off a little bit. But Shane, when he pulls on that blue jumper, is a different beast, isn't he?
He is. You know, he obviously missed out by qualifying automatically by 4 points.
Yeah.
Finished top 15 in the FedEx Cup. You know, I think his credentials speak for themselves. But as you said, he brings so much energy and passion to that team. You know, as a team, you want those individuals that put the team first, and Shane does that as well as anyone.
John Ram obviously had fewer events to try to qualify than everybody else, and he was the only one of those 11. Sorry, he was the only one that wasn't in the top 11, if you know what I mean. But John Ram, you're talking about generational talent here, and someone who's been the backbone of the last 3 European teams.
Yeah, statistically one of our strongest players every time. He's a consistent machine. I mean, a ball striking machine, and again, he brings a quality to that team, of respect and what he's done in the game. 2-time major champion, and came close this year in a couple majors, the PGA Championship, US Open. So one of the ultimately one of the best players in the world.
Yeah, and Matt Fitzpatrick, to some people, was maybe sort of the one question mark of who might make this team compared to the Rome team. But he's almost had the inverse of Shane's season. He, by his own admission, really struggled at the start of the year. Then something clicked, and his form in the last few weeks has been great.
Yeah, another guy that came close in a couple majors. The PGA Championship, he was right there, 4th at the Open Championship. Yeah. He's had, I think, 6 top 10s in his last 8 starts. So statistically, again, one of our stronger players in the last 3 months. And you always want to see form. So he's definitely our form horse, and deserved that pick.
Just how much of a feather in Europe's cap is it that there is such continuity, that you are able to, especially for an away Ryder Cup, be able to just have a team that knows each other so well, knows their roles so well?
I think it's important. It's a lot of continuity, a lot of shared experiences. But this is a different challenge, and we're looking at it differently. Winning away in America is difficult. So that's been my task, the last 20 months, to figure out the best opportunity, give these guys the best chance. And so a lot of thought has been going into that. It won't be the same as Rome. It'll be different, and so it requires different strategies. But we're looking forward to it.
And just very finally, in that regard, how different do you feel this time going into this one? Last time you didn't really know what to expect. You now have under your belt the experience of being a winning captain. How differently is Luke Donald approaching this one?
I still approach it the same way, trying to give our team the best opportunity for success. I won't take anything for granted. I know how strong the US will be. Again, I've been trying to think of different ways to make sure that we are prepared. We've lost 3 of the last 4 away Ryder Cups by significant margins. So we understand the challenge ahead of us. But super excited again to have these guys on our team battling for Europe. They understand what that crest means.
Yeah, it looks like a very strong team. I cannot wait. Thank you very much for your time this morning, Luke. Not long to wait now. 26th of September, it all gets underway. The Ryder Cup at Bethpage, bound to be a bear pit of an atmosphere in New York. Luke Donald aiming to become the first man to captain a away side to victory in the Ryder Cup since Medina back in 2012. And you can see it all unfold on Sky Sports Golf.
Yep, you guessed it. Yet more breaking news for you here on this deadline day. It involves Leeds. Now, they are in talks with Fulham over the signing of Harry Wilson, Daniel Farke's side, trying to bring in another forward before the deadline. They've got less than 4 hours to go now. They were in for Brighton's Buonanotte on loan, but that was before, of course, we now know he is going to Chelsea. Leeds have just over 3 hours left before that deadline, but we know that they are in talks with Fulham over the signing of Harry Wilson. OK, from Leeds, let's get to Chelsea. Back to our chief correspondent, Kaveh Solikul. He's there and has been covering them all window long. You've got an update for us.
Yes, just some more details on Nicholas Jackson's move from Chelsea to Bayern Munich, which was on, off, definitely on now because a deal has been agreed. And I can give you the details of the deal. Crucially, it is a loan plus an obligation. Remember, a couple of days ago, Chelsea agreed a loan plus an option with Bayern Munich. But then here on Saturday, Liam Delap pulled his hamstring. Chelsea got in touch with Bayern Munich and said the deal is off. We're not going to let you have him on a loan plus an option. If you want him, you have to put the money on the table. It has to be a permanent deal or a loan plus an obligation. And what's happened this afternoon is that Bayern Munich have agreed to a loan plus an obligation. And these are the figures. Bayern Munich will be paying a loan fee of 16.5 million euros. That has gone up by about 1.5 million euros. The option, which is now an obligation, is 65 million euros. If you add it all up, this is a deal that is potentially worth 81.5 million euros to Chelsea. In pounds, that is around 70 million pounds, which matches exactly Chelsea's valuation. So Nicholas Jackson is a Bayern Munich player. In the end, he got the move that he wanted. I think Chelsea played poker with Bayern Munich. They weren't bluffing when they said, if you believe in Nicholas Jackson, put the money on the table. This has to be permanent or a loan plus an obligation. And Chelsea have got that loan plus an obligation.
Harvey, thank you.
Oh, it's been a busy one. Still 3 hours and 14 minutes to go. We are going to bring you updates from Manchester United and Manchester City next. Stay with us here on Deadline Day. Hi there, welcome back. Going to start straight away with some breaking news. It's an outgoing at Fulham. Martial Godot set to join Strasbourg in a permanent deal. Now, this deal is understood to be worth in the region of £6 million. Coventry had been interested in the winger. So where will they turn? Well, let's get to Dave Reed, who's got some breaking news from the Championship.
Yeah, in the last few moments, Leicester have confirmed the signing of the Feyenoord forward Julian Carranza. The 25-year-old Argentinian is joining on a season-long loan with an option to buy. Also at Leicester today, they've turned down several bids from Real Betis for Patson Daka. The club want to keep the striker. That's despite the signing of Carranza as well. It's thought they want at least £10 million to be interested in selling Daka. He's got a year left on his current contract. None of the bids from Betis have come close. And a reminder of the breaking news from Wrexham. They've taken their summer spending to near the £30 million mark after announcing the signing of Coventry captain Ben Sheaf. He's joining in a deal worth £6.5 million and has signed a 3-year contract with an option of a further year. Wrexham not done yet this deadline day either. They're close to completing a loan move for Manchester City right-back Isak Kabore, and also got a bit of breaking news for Portsmouth fans. They're advancing in a loan move with Ipswich for Connor Chaplin. So that's just reaching us.
Yeah, more breaking news for you. It involves Arsenal, who have already been one of the biggest net spenders during this transfer window. Let me tell you about this. Piero Hincapié finalising his move to the Gunners from Bayer Leverkusen. Now, it's understood that he's had a medical and he's agreed terms. So the deal itself is a loan with an option to buy. The total fee, if the option is triggered, is worth £45 million. Now, Hincapié's move will allow Jakub Kiwior to formally complete his transfer to Porto over in Portugal. That deal is a loan with an obligation to buy. That's worth £24 million. Now, how about Alexander Zinchenko? Well, we knew that there was a potential move to Marseille, didn't we, over in Ligue 1, but that is looking increasingly unlikely. Initial talks were held between the clubs, but that is looking increasingly unlikely. So to recap, Hincapié finalising his move to Arsenal. That will allow Kiwior to complete his move to Porto. Zinchenko's move, though, to Marseille looking increasingly unlikely. Whew.
Did you get all that? Right, 3 hours to go. Will Manchester City get Gianluigi Donnarumma in time? Let's check in with Sani Rudravajula. What have you got for us, Sani?
Well, yeah, this deal for Gianluigi Donnarumma, one of the best goalkeepers in the world. And remember, in his exploits in the Champions League last season, we were marvelling at just how good he was. Deemed surplus to requirements at PSG, and we know City are in talks to bring him here. Not yet gone through yet, though, and we believe there's a bit of a distance between Donnarumma and City to be sorted, but we know that a framework for a deal has been agreed in principle, so there's still some moving parts there. Still only 26 years old. When or if he were to come, then Ederson at that point would also be allowed to go after his 8 seasons here at City, and we know Fenerbahce is a likely option for him, and that would leave question marks too over number 1 spot between Donnarumma and James Trafford, but that's still working on that one. We also know that Manuel Akanji, who was so pivotal to City, particularly in that treble season after 3 seasons here, the City are in talks with Inter Milan for him to potentially leave as well. And as we just heard from David Reed as well, finally, Issa Kabore, Burkina Faso international, who's had loan spells at Werder Bremen and Luton Town actually in the Premier League, is on his way, we know, to Wrexham from City as well. So some players coming out and Donnarumma maybe coming in.
Great stuff, Sani. Right, so Manchester City might be getting a keeper. Manchester United wanted a keeper. It looks like they're getting one. Dan Khan, what can you tell us?
Yes, thank you, Bella. Here we go, the last few hours of deadline day to go. And as we've understood all day as Sky Sports News, Sene Lamens looks like he could be the newest addition here at Manchester United. Fee agreed for just over £18 million. We understand he is having his medical this afternoon at Carrington. And look, it's been a very important deadline day for United, not just in terms of that potential incoming, but also outgoings when you consider the likes of Jadon Sancho very close to agreeing to go to Aston Villa on loan. No option to buy or obligation to buy, but a good loan in terms of getting his wages off the wage bill. The same with the likes of Rasmus Højlund and Anthony too. So what I would say, Bella, is it's been a really positive day for United. A bit more low-key, but I think I've probably completed Sky Sports News bingo in terms of all of those phrases in a very short space of time. All good here, no issues with the deal sheet, as I understand it, for Lamans going into the final hours of the window.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you, Dan. Right, it has been a busy day. Alexander Isak, Yoann Wissa, both having medicals as we speak. We'll bring you the latest on that. But the big story this hour is that Marc Guehi has agreed a deal for him to go to Liverpool. The Crystal Palace captain will also be having his medical. They have agreed permission for him to do so, so that will be done in London. Elsewhere, Nicholas Jackson, is he going to go to Bayern Munich? It looks like that is back on. Plenty more coming, and we were going to get an update from Scotland as well. 11 o'clock deadline there, but here we have got 3 hours to go. We are here for all the twists and turns. Stay with us. Alan Pardew and Christian Purslow will be joining Jess and I again after the break.